January 10th, Cincinnati, Ohio, kicking it old school with Andy Mack Williams. We have a ton to get to today. We had a game at Providence. We have the massive game for the Xavier Musketeers. That will be tonight, Wednesday night, at Villanova, the number one ranked team in the country. Andy, college football is done. Alabama's not playing anymore. My Michigan Wolverines with Jim Harbaugh, I don't have to watch them lose anymore. Don't have to watch the Buckeyes. But college basketball, Andy, it's taking center stage right now, and Xavier's one of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, bring on the spotlight and focus it with all its glare on the Xavier Musketeers. Although they've dropped precipitously in the national polls, but that's the way it works. Whenever Xavier loses, they get they get no credit.
I know you don't want to talk about the loss, Andy. I know you don't, but we have to briefly.
Let's briefly brush.
We'll touch over it.
Let's briefly brush on the unfortunate 81-72 Xavier loss at the Dunk in Providence, Rhode Island. The first blemish on their Big East record, and they played that game so early it was before breakfast.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan. I slept in, got up around 11 o'clock, went over to Domino's, picked up a pizza, and then I came back, and the game had already started. I missed the first 4 minutes.
You missed the only positives for Xavier. I think they had a 10-5 lead.
Gosh. I snapped a 10-game win streak for the Muskies.
15-2 overall, 3-1 in the league. Not a bad place to be. And it was your typical Big East roadblock. I mean, a team that is underappreciated by you. You degraded and denigrated,
which I feel bad about because I'm a
Friars.
huge Ed Cooley fan, and I did. When we did our Big East preview, I dogged them a little bit, and I apologize for that. They looked fantastic. Kyron Cartwright, right? Very nice player, point guard.
You had Providence 11th in a 10-team league.
That is not true.
That is not true. You had them lower than Whale Dung, I think. Something, I don't know. It was way down there. But I told you, and not that I'm a soothsayer or anything, but I think Providence is going to be very good. They're getting healthy. Rodney Bullock didn't make it for the Marquette game, the overtime loss. He was, I guess he had the stomach flu, and he was ralphing, so he couldn't make it to the arena. But he damn well played well against Xavier.
Yeah, he did.
And unfortunately, only about 3 Musketeers showed up. And it might have been the cold weather. It was probably Winter Storm Grayson, which
it could have a lot of snow. It affected.
The full name of that storm is Winter Storm Grayson Allen.
Oh, wow.
Because it was nasty. It was a cheap shot on the East Coast.
It's true.
Like the Duke player, Grayson Allen.
Yeah, so you're saying the snow and the weather might have had an effect on travel and the ability maybe to get to the gym on time.
It was a bomb cyclone.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bomb cyclone. It's a nor'easter. It's a snowstorm.
Well, Andy, what happened to JP and Trayvon? Trayvon was scoreless in the second half. Providence really put the clamps on him. JP, under 10 points. He had been averaging over 18 in Big East play. Hard to go on the road when your best players aren't able to come up with big buckets in the second half like they've been doing all year.
It's gonna happen. They're gonna underachieve on the road. But what I'm worried about is the real health situation with Trayvon Blewett. He has those leeches, those plastic Velcro things on his right shoulder. What is that?
It's actually called kinesio tape, from my understanding. It's supposed to help with inflammation.
Tape.
I've seen it a lot on swimmers, right? You see it a lot on swimmers. Sometimes football players have it, but you can't see it.
Volleyball
you see it all the time. I don't know if it's working. I mean, he doesn't seem to be in any visible pain, but he's not shooting nearly the same clip that Trayvon was shooting earlier in the year.
Are those live leeches?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could be. They could be. I don't want to say because I'm not the actual person to put those on. I didn't put those on Trayvon, but they very well could be.
Anyway,
did you say leeches?
Yeah, we're talking about leeches.
Like the thing, like the.
Yeah, like the.
I'm trying not to curse because they're disgusting.
Yeah.
Like the things.
Yes, the things.
On him all the time.
On him all the time.
No way.
They may be live leeches.
That's
I don't know.
bullshit.
You find those in the primordial swamps.
Tune in like that.
You have to go to Burma to find those in the primordial swamps.
If he's using leeches, that's why he's shooting like hell. That's
whatever
why he's
it
not
takes.
doing well.
I mean, Xavier obviously underachieved, and Providence was the more motivated, the more desperate team after their 2 straight Big East losses. And actually, we got to give Karem Cantor plenty of kudos. He had a great ball, 20 minutes, 24 points, 12 rebounds, barely missed a field goal try.
I thought Tyreek was great, too, especially to start the second half. And Providence had 7 blocks. in that first half, and no one was finishing strong when they were going to the rim. Tyreek, I thought for Xavier, did a great job setting the tone. JP was able to find Tyreek on the baseline, and he finished with authority. Providence only ended up finishing with 9 blocks, but you got to be happy with the bigs. Canner and Tyreek, I thought, really played well.
It's sort of life on the road in the Big East. Only 2, maybe. I thought Quentin Gooden played all right. Maybe 3 of the usual 9 in the rotation played well. And Providence, with a sellout crowd, they tuned out the cold weather and that ice from the AHL Providence Bruins below the floor. It was a cold building. Xavier came out. The players were wearing hoodies in the warm-up. This is not
you're not
good.
A fan of the hoodies. I love the hoodies. You don't, Greg? You're not a fan of the hoodies.
I'm okay with the hoodies. I guess they just played a hockey game there the night before, so it was apparently
a little
chilly in the arena.
See, I'm a big fan of the hoodie look.
Andy,
I would like one myself.
Andy, why are you so opposed to the hoodies?
I just think that it's something that I'd wear out on the playground on a cold January day, shooting around. If it's something that I wear, you don't want a real basketball player to wear it. That's my opinion.
I think Providence probably had. I haven't looked back, but probably their best shooting game of the. I mean, they went 20 for 22 for free throws, and they were 295th in the country in free throw percentage before that game. 41% from the 3-point line. 3 guys over 15 points, and the one thing that really sticks out to me was Xavier. I mean, Providence had 11 steals and 9 blocks.
Didn't take care of the ball.
You can't win a game like that.
Turnovers, and when you have a point guard that dominates the game in Cartwright, 19 points, 9 assists, it's challenging to really have a stability and a handle on the flow, which Providence was able to grab that. I think Cartwright was the main instigator in that.
Let's move on from what was a rather bleak day for Xavier, but typical road action in the Big East, and it's going to happen. The statistical aberration, the whole game. Xavier won the rebounding battle. They outscored them 44-22 in the paint. But obviously, getting close to the basket makes no difference at any level of basketball these days. The game is totally flipped on its head. But that's the way it is. The three-point shot is the gold standard these days.
And it should be. It should be. Three-point shot's king.
Look what happened last night in the Big East to prove my theory that the road is a total landmine in this league. Seton Hall went in undefeated to Marquette in the league, riding high. They'd moved up to number 13 in one of those stupid polls, I think the AP. And Marquette beat them 84-64. Marquette just whipped them like a wounded dog last night at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee.
Wait, who's hitting a wounded dog?
Just curious.
Marquette was.
Marquette was hitting a wounded dog. Yeah, Seton Hall was. It was a metaphor.
I know. I'm just trying to figure out who's hitting dogs in general, especially wounded ones.
And that little guard Rousey scored 31 last night for Marquette.
You're always degrading the little guards. What's wrong with the little guard?
He's a shrimp. I'm sorry. I can't denigrate his basketball ability because he and Howard are super players, but he is small in stature, so Brad. Knock him out of there. Well, Brad has wandered away.
Brad, are you okay?
Again.
We're having some headphone issues over there?
Sorry, guys. I was getting a little fuzz. I think the cord got mixed up somehow. But, Andy, we're fine. Keep going on the Big East standings and the Wounded Dogs. We're good.
All right. In light of last night's activity, the Creighton Blue Jays move into first place at 4-1, and they are on a roll. They clobbered Butler last night in Omaha. Xavier, Seton Hall, they're each 3-1. Villanova 2-1, Marquette 3-2, and everybody else is at 500 or below. So the league is a total fire drill, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know why people get upset when you lose a game on the road. I think if you're Coach Mack, you're his staff, you're happy with going 500 on the road. I mean, I think if you look at the Big East schedule, the way that it's set up, you take care of business at home, you go 7-1, 8-0. You split on the road.
Well, wait a minute. You play 9 home games, so you got to go.
Well, you got to go 8-1 or 9-0. All right, one loss or zero. I mean, I'm not as good of a numbers guy as you are, Andy.
So one game is like canceled or postponed. You just play an 8-game.
Yeah, you just play. You never know. You're gonna have Hurricane Grayson Allen or the winter storm that you were talking about earlier. Could be on its way.
You're right. I didn't mean to. It's a minor detail.
You're great with I appreciate you calling me out on because I need to make sure that I have every single number properly established in my small head.
Dot those I's, cross those T's.
That's true. Well, the Musketeers, big opportunity. this week. They play Villanova at Villanova in Philadelphia. Villanova, as we know, Andy, the gold standard in the Big East, and they have the best dress coach in college basketball, and Jay Wright.
Bar none.
I mean,
He's the best.
his dress game, his attire. I mean, that guy is the most polished coach out there in the country. I love seeing what Jay Wright brings
Jay
to the
Wright's
table.
tailor is on point.
Huggins dresses pretty well too.
Not as good as Jay Wright is a different though, different,
Okay.
smoother.
Okay.
Jay Wright's a smooth. I mean, he's Mr. GQ.
Huggins. Did you ever?
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up his name, Andy. I won't
now
bring it
you've
up
got
anymore.
me going.
I'm sorry. I'm
Now
sorry.
you've got me going.
Don't talk about Huggins on Villanova Day.
They beat Oklahoma in Morgantown the other day. They're number 2 in the country, the West Virginia Virginia.
Yeah.
They have a 15 game winning streak. The only game they lost was at that Air Force base in Germany, Ramstein. They lost to Texas A&M in the opener of the season. So they're real. I mean, they're good.
They're the real deal.
They look good last night
I
against
hate
Baylor.
to say that.
Yeah, West Virginia's they really
They beat
pressured
Baylor.
defensively, and Javon Carter did a tremendous job on Oklahoma's guard Trae Young. I mean, Trae Young, the whole game. I mean, he ended up with some positive numbers, scoring over 20 points. He got close to his 10 assists, but he was rattled. He was pressured that whole game. Carter for West Virginia was fantastic.
But back to the
Oh yeah, Xavier. Forgot. We got to go back. We got to go back to Xavier.
the obstacle at hand
Quickly.
is the Villanova Wildcats in Philadelphia. As Chris Mack says so eloquently, the last 4 years have been Xavier's annual Philadelphia ass kicking, and he's right. They've lost by 22 points on average.
Are they nervous? Are they nervous at all for this, Andy? Are you nervous? You came in here with a different energy than what you normally have. You did. Are you nervous
Your
right
aura's
now?
a little hot tonight. I'm gonna be honest with you, Andy. You don't seem as very enthusiastic and half glass full as normal.
I have the eye of the tiger for tonight's game. I'll be sitting on my couch in my recliner trying to contribute from miles away as Xavier attempts to convince themselves they can win. Psychologically, it's got to be, there's some baggage here, as Xavier has not even come close to beating Villanova in Philadelphia. Now, they play at the big building because the little pavilion has been
The little pavilion.
has been destroyed by plastic explosives. They're rebuilding the pavilion up on the main line in Philadelphia. They're forced to play Xavier at the Wells Fargo Center.
That makes a huge difference. There's something about playing in the pavilion that makes it almost impossible for any road team to go and win. I think for Xavier, huge advantage to be able to play that game at Wells Fargo. I think that number one is where you start with when you're thinking about Xavier being able to win that game on the road tonight. And then Andy, you had some fantastic other nuggets. We got to get those in because they were tremendous.
All right, Villanova has ascended again to number 1 in the country in the Associated Press and the USA Today coaches poll. Xavier has the best record in the country against AP number 1 ranked teams since 1996. Now that does go back a few years. Xavier has wins over UC twice, the St. Joe's Hawks in 2004 up at Dayton at the A-10 tournament, and Villanova 2 years ago, 2016 at the Cintas Center. Those are the 4 wins. The 2 losses for Xavier are to UMass, John Calipari, Marcus Camby.
Great team.
Cincinnati Gardens, 1996, in overtime. And that tainted game against the Ohio State Buckeyes, NCAA tournament 2007 at Rupp Arena, when John Call made that abysmal lack of a intentional foul call, and Xavier lost to the Buckeyes in overtime. So Xavier has been sticky and persistent against number 1s, and maybe it can continue against Villanova on Wednesday night.
You're saying there's a chance.
I think that,
You're saying there's a chance.
I think there's more than a chance. And also, in the fair play turnabout is fair play department, if you will. Jay Wright won his 500th career game at Xavier last year against the Musketeers at Cintas. Chris Mack comes into this game against Villanova this evening needing a victory to go to 202 on his Xavier career and to tie the great Pete Gillen, the Hall of Famer Pete Gillen. So if there's any justice in the world of college basketball, in sports, if one thing balances out another in the long time horizon of sports, Xavier is owed this victory.
Absolutely.
At Villanova.
I like that.
You're owed nothing in life,
They are
Andy.
owed this victory.
You're owed nothing in life.
We need to get you in the locker room right now. Right now. Waking these
Damn
guys
it.
up in the hotel room, getting ready to roll, Andy. I mean, that's what you need. That's what you need to get ready for a game is some Andy Mac Williams throwing out those nuggets.
Getting you pumped up.
I love that.
Well, I'm available.
I'm ready to roll.
I'm
And
available.
now I went into this interview thinking Xavier did not have a chance, and I'm leaving it. Well, not that we're done yet, but I'm leaving it after what Andy said is we have a chance
There
at
is
this
a
thing.
chance.
We're going to go in there confident, Nick. We're going to go in there.
I think if you don't lose by 10, I think you're happy. But I mean,
What?
There's no moral victories at
There's no
Xavier.
moral victories.
There we go.
well, then it's going to be a loss probably. So just,
Andy, do you have any like away game rituals that you do? You know, like is there
oh my God!
do you have
Can
like
we
a
come watch you
do you
watch
have
a
like
game?
a certain like tie you wear at night when you sit down to watch the games?
Popcorn, baby.
I eat a giant bowl of Rocky Road ice cream, followed by a Diet Mountain Dew, to get totally stimulated for the game.
All right.
I sit
Oh,
there
this is
and,
pregame.
and I throw
Prior to.
I throw little puff balls at my TV set because I'm too cheap. I don't want to break the picture tube or whatever the picture tube. Don't they have those anymore?
They might.
Yeah, I think they do.
My dogs, I used to have a couple of great dogs. They're both dead now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
sorry,
whenever I'd
sorry.
sit down to watch a game, my wife would leave the house. She was smart enough to do it. And the
Smart.
dogs, after my first couple of screams, would leave and go up to the bedroom and close
also
the door.
smart.
Just leave you to yourself.
Leave me in the family room to agonize over the play-by-play.
Is there a certain treasure that you have at home that you would give up for a Xavier win tonight? Is there any what would you give up for a Xavier W tonight?
Name it. You can have my. you can have my art. You can have my artificial Christmas tree. You can have the whole bit. You can have my blankie from when I was 3 years old. All that stuff. You can have it. But realistically, I think that there is a way to beat this Villanova
How?
team.
How do we do it, Andy?
They are not that great defensively. They've given up 92 points a game in their three Big East games. And Butler, Wisconsin, and Marquette over the last couple of years have found a way to beat Villanova. And I think overall it is to keep the game half court, to reduce your turnovers, to not turn the ball over in live ball situations against that Villanova three-quarter court press, and to get defensive stops against a precision passing team like Villanova. I mean, I don't know what you do other than you get them to shoot three-point shots. You get them to settle for three-pointers, and it can be done. This Villanova team has lost Josh Hart, arguably the player of the year in the country last year. They lost Chris Jenkins, who was kryptonite to Xavier. And they lost Darrell Reynolds, very underrated post guy who rebounded and played defense. I think they're weaker defensively because the freshman Omari Spellman, very good player, but not quite inculcated into the Jay Wright system yet. And Wright likes to use an 8-man rotation. He only has 7 guys he can count on because of injury. Jermaine Samuels, the really good freshman at 6'7", is out with a broken hand. The backup point guard, Colin Gillespie, a redshirt freshman, he's also out with a broken hand. So, if you can get into their bench, get them in foul trouble, I think there's a path to beat this team. But it's got to be low turnovers for Xavier. They've got to attack the rim, get Spellman and maybe Eric Paschal into foul trouble. What you do about Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, I don't know. I mean, maybe you have an answer. They're both probably NBA lottery picks.
I think it's challenging to figure out a way to how to attack Brunson and Bridges. I mean, they're both averaging almost 20 points per game. Brunson, I would argue, is probably the best point guard in the country, maybe behind Trae Young. But I like the way that Brunson plays. I mean, he's a consummate pro. You got to do the best you can to just make life tough on him. Make him work for everything he has. Gooden has to be in there. Scruggs, if he does get a little bit of time, I mean, he's got to put all of his energy into playing defense on Jalen Brunson. You just make it tough, but those guys are so talented. They're going to be able to make plays. Villanova will be able to make runs. But can you not turn the ball over, and can you do a good enough job defensively? And I like what you're saying. Reduce turnovers, and then on the defensive side, make those guys shoot threes. Don't give them any easy buckets. I mean, that's probably your recipe for victory.
I mean, Chris Mack is a brilliant strategist, tactician, whatever word you want to use. No doubt he's gone up. Butler's beaten these guys 3 times in 2 years. Now, the one game this year over at Hinkle was an aberration. because Butler beat them 101-93 and they hit 15 of 22 threes. But I think the other two games and the game at Marquette and the game against Wisconsin are the way to do it. You got to keep them from scoring 70 points, maybe beat them with a game in the mid-60s, and just control tempo.
Well, I'm looking forward to the game tonight. I'll definitely be watching. That game is at 8 o'clock. And Andy, after everything that you've told me, I feel a lot better about Xavier going into Villanova, being able to keep it tight, at least give themselves a chance in the last couple minutes to make it a game.
Yeah,
the last few times we've been there, by halftime the game has been over. Xavier needs to stay in this one. I don't think Villanova is quite as good as what they've been the last couple years. Don't have that same depth. They've lost some players that were huge for them, veteran guys that made big plays at the end of games. I think Xavier has a realistic shot to stay in this game. Villanova, obviously, the favorite, but I think Xavier gives themselves an opportunity the last 5 minutes to be in this game and have a chance for victory.
Yeah, let's make it competitive in Philadelphia. It's the last bite at the Villanova Wildcat apple, if you will, for Trayvon Blewett, J.P. McCura, Sean O'Mara, the only bite for Karem Cantor. I'm sure Mac has really drummed home that Philadelphia ass-kicking theme with him. And Travis Steele probably has the scout on this game. And Travis has a way of coming up with some tactical twists. So I think they've got a shot. I'm picking Xavier. I'm going to have to downscale my 68-66.
Got to keep it low scoring.
Yeah, got to keep it
68-66.
Are we talking buzzer beater, Andy, or what?
I don't care. I don't care how it is.
It doesn't matter. He just wants the Muskies on top.
I don't care
at the
how
end of
they
that
get
game.
the numbers. I don't pay somebody at the score table to cheat. I don't care. Just win the ball game.
Well, it doesn't get any easier, except you do get to come home if you're Xavier after that Villanova game. On Saturday at 2 o'clock, they will play Creighton, who is 14-3, just one loss in the Big East last night. Big victory over Butler, 85-74. Your boy Marcus Foster, he had 23 points. And then Martin, I can't say this guy's name yet. I want to say Martin Crampage. You told me that's not correct.
Crumple.
Martin Crumple.
Martin Crumple.
Where's Martin from?
He is from Slovenia.
Okay.
Wherever that is.
I'm not certain.
It's around Albania, and maybe just a right turn from Romania or Ethiopia. No, that's in Africa, I think. Anyway,
That's a lot of IA names.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in that discussion.
Lithuania.
I wish Crumple would be
Slovenia.
deported. Maybe he's one of those. He might be one of those DACA people.
Wow.
He might be a DACA. What do you think?
It could be. I don't know. I mean, it's very possible.
You could be a dreamer, you know.
I'd be lying to tell you I know a whole lot about the immigration process right now, though.
No.
I see the brief headlines
It
here and
seems
there,
like-
but I don't dive into a
Seems
whole
like
lot after that.
if you're good enough at basketball, you can just come on in.
Yeah,
I think
I mean-
that's kind of the rules.
If I'm Xavier,
Crumpage, Crumple, Krampus.
Krampus.
Is it Martin Crumple?
Why is there a J? I just don't understand. I get where I was trying to figure out why you kept saying crumpage. Just like how he calls it crumple. Where's the G? But
I
the
guess
J.
it's a silent J. Crumple.
That's what's missing from your name.
Yeah.
Brad is the silent J at the end.
All I can say is if I'm Xavier, I'm checking to see if the kid has a green card. Before he gets into the building, before he's allowed in the Cintas Center, I want to see your ID. I want to see your fingerprints. I want to see the green card and all that stuff. There might be an immigration way of keeping him off the floor.
When Creighton comes into town, we'll have Coach McDermott call you.
Yeah.
We'll have you meet Crumple over at the Westin where they're probably staying. you can grab his green card before he comes over to the Cintas.
They were all worried in Omaha when Justin Patton went to the NBA. Somebody drafted him, the big 7-footer last year. It was the end of Creighton basketball as we know.
Done.
It. And
Over.
Tyreek Jones went into Omaha last year and kicked that kid's ass. I mean, he just owned it.
Yeah.
So what are we worried about? I'd rather have Patton than Crumple or Crumpnick, whatever.
Krampus?
This kid,
I don't know.
He's averaging a double-double.
Krampus is a movie.
He's averaging a double-double. He hardly played last year. He runs the floor like a deer, like an antelope.
He's a big antelope.
He's a big antelope.
He is a big antelope. And then Kyrie Thompson, a pretty nice player, too, on the perimeter.
He's going to be guarding Trayvon Blewett man-on-man.
Yeah.
Kyrie Thomas is maybe the best defender. He was defender of the year in the Big East last year.
At least you get home cooking, though. At least
Number
you come back to Cintas, but you get a chance at Villanova tonight. Get to play Creighton over the weekend back at home. I mean, I think if you're Xavier players, coaches, you look at this as a tremendous opportunity to possibly put yourself in super elite company at top of the Big East. I mean, this is a huge week, huge opportunity with both teams that you're going to be able to compete with.
Yeah, I like your theory. Play 500 on the road. And you lose at Providence, you maybe underachieve. You could have gotten that with maybe a better effort. But you go into Villanova now, they're back at number one. They're the big dog. They're protecting their turf. And it's about Xavier goes in there with the eye of the tiger. They're not afraid. They play. They control the ball game. They get a 9-man rotational contribution. The freshman Scruggs D's up when he's on the floor against Jalen Brunson. Najee Marshall has his first real impact game in the Big East. He played great against Marshall and against Baylor. Why not against Villanova?
I agree. Andy Mack, you have the complete recipe for success tonight for the Xavier Musketeers and moving forward as always. Andy, everybody wants to freak out about losing games on the road. If you play in a high-level conference, you're going to lose games on the road. North Carolina, the national champion last year, they went 4-4 in their road games in the ACC. So if you're playing in an elite conference, you're going to lose games. And actually, North Carolina should have gone 3-5. They won one of those games in overtime against Clemson. So I'm confident in the Musketeers. I haven't lost any faith in them. There's really no concerns for me other than maybe Trayvon making sure that he's healthy. But aside from that, they have the depth, the talent to keep moving forward. And this team has tremendous chemistry, which I think is better than what it's been in recent years, just based on the group of guys they have.
You duplicate my mindset. We are on the same wavelength here, and a full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes, and knock off those overrated Villanova Wildcats in their own backyard. Have a cheesesteak on the plane back home.
I will.
The players all get the cheesesteaks with the big high carbohydrate, drenched in oil French fries. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well, Andy, enjoy that rocky road tonight. It will be a fantastic game with some super talented players.
Maybe a rocky road for X, but I don't think so.
This is when college basketball gets fun. Andy, thank you so much for coming on. Greg, Nick, as always.
My pleasure.
And
Thanks,
that
Andy.
is Kicking It Old School with the legend, Andy Mack Williams.